Greetings and aloha. What's going on? It's Mike's from LiveMyAssOff.com. I just went for a really, really great long walk on this beach. Let me turn around and show it to you guys. And it was awesome. And as I was walking, I was thinking, okay, well, maybe I'll do a live stream, maybe I'll do a video, something like that. Not quite sure. And then I thought, well, no, I'm just gonna kind of enjoy it by myself, which I did. And I labeled this traditionally, this sort of scenario, as only child beach because I don't have to share it with anybody. And sometimes I like that, sometimes I don't. I really wish I could share it with Gracie right now, as you might guess. Maybe you wouldn't guess that, but that's the case. And anyway, so I just wanted to walk back this way, and I wanted to, well, share it with you, but also talk about something that you guys are very familiar with me chatting about, which is gratitude, and the amount that I have regularly. I saw a comment on one of my posts from a friend, and he said, yeah, you know, I've been sharing some of your photos and videos and that sort of thing from Thailand, and some people are responding with, oh sure, yeah, but like what if the government does this, or, you know, this, like, you know, old state kind of thing, or what if they don't respect you, or what if they take away your rights, or, you know, just something around this. And it's funny, when I haven't done this in a while, but when I used to mentor like younger guys, like in their 20s and 30s and stuff, and they would come to me with the, well, yeah, but what if this happens, or what if this happens, or what if I don't pass this exam, or what if I don't pay off my student loans, or what if I can't get this, or what if this girl doesn't say yes, or what if I don't get this job, or what if I show up at Thanksgiving and I don't have the right gift, or Christmas, or whatever. And my response to that is pretty much the same as to the folks that are like, yeah, but what if you go over to Thailand and the government does this, or you're unable to do this, or whatever. And that response is, well, yeah, and what if the sun hits the earth? Anything can happen, literally, right? Because if I was doing this video, let's say for the sake of argument, 1 year ago, and I was either over here in Thailand or I was home in Coronado, and towards the end of June and early July in Coronado, the weather's actually to my liking. Many people will say that the weather in San Diego is to their liking the entire year. And as I mentioned before, San Diego has done an excellent job of marketing themselves to pretty much the entire United States. Because many people will say, oh yeah, they have perfect weather. Oh yeah, you guys have perfect weather out there, don't you? And of course that's subjective. If it was perfect, then I might have stayed there. But I came here, because this is my perfect, right? This is my version of perfect. And anything can happen. So a year ago, let's say I'm doing this video. Nobody, literally 0% of anybody would have ever posted anything relative to, yeah, but Mike, what if a global pandemic happens? And in fact, it was a label of a scenario that honestly was used in jest to basically describe the same thing as I was saying, which is, well, what if the sun hits the earth? Well, what if there's a global pandemic? Because in IT, at least in my version of IT, one of the things that's important, and one of the things that my team and I would discuss and plan for is, well, I guess maybe the inevitable. So what if the power goes out? What if the air conditioning fails? And in Southern California, certainly where we were located in San Diego, what if there's a big fire? Because that can have a detrimental effect on your organization, and therefore IT needs to be able to respond, to be able to support the organization to do business on a regular basis, or at least, you know, support it so that it can at least get a minimum amount of stuff done with the systems that we support and have. And I'm talking about, you know, like payroll, for example, but, you know, in higher education, it's also, can we admit students? Can we matriculate students? Can we cash checks that the students give us? Can we pay our employees? Can we teach? Can we provide, in exchange for people's money, an education that will make them smarter after they've left? Presumably, right? That's higher education. That's the business model. And so one of the things in IT that we would talk about is, okay, well, what's the likelihood of this happening? Like, what is the likelihood of an earthquake in Southern California, and specifically where I was at, or where our campus was, which is right on a mesa. So if there's an earthquake that, you know, part of the thing would fall off and that sort of thing. Part of the campus potentially would fall off into the valley or whatever, right? Let's just say that for the sake of argument. Okay, so that happens. What do? Well, we do this, and then we move this to the cloud. We make sure we have backups of these or whatever. Okay, great. What if there's a gas leak and they need to evacuate the campus? Okay, well then we do this, we have this, we provide this, and again, some of it's in the cloud, some of it's on premise, some of it, you know, IT stuff, right? And sadly, one of the scenarios, which is pretty common on almost every college campus in the United States, certainly for the last several years, which is, what if there is a shooter on campus? What are we going to do if we have to lock down the campus? How are we be able to provide appropriate communication? How are we going to communicate with the parents and the loved ones and our students and our staff and our employees and our customers and all that, right? So we go through these scenarios, and one of them, believe it or not, is, you know, we would go through all those scenarios that are, you know, arguably quite realistic. I mean, the chances of there being a big fire in Southern California are, well, for one, it has occurred. So we have evidence that that has occurred, and occurred more than once, and likely will occur again. And so how do we plan for that, right? And then there's the other scenarios that I'm talking about. And then, believe it or not, there is the discussion around, okay, well, what if there's a pandemic? But the likelihood of it was so low that it would almost be like, okay, well, by the time... And what we refer to those plans, by the way, is the DR plan, or disaster recovery. I actually relabeled it and remarketed it, and I called it DA, which is disaster avoidance. Because if you have to recover in, like, today's world, your IT systems, meaning you have to, like, basically restore the data from backup or reinstall everything, or what, you might as well just not have a plan at all, because the time that it takes to recover, because of the significant amount of data that all organizations of any, you know, degree of relevance have. You know, it's kind of like saying, okay, well, let's say we have all, like Google, right? Let's say we have all of our Gmail accounts in one data center, and that data center gets completely destroyed. Yes, we have all of the email backed up on tape, and we can just restore it, but it's going to take us 72 days kind of thing. I mean, it really is like that excessive. So really, disaster recovery, I mean, you're talking about like, okay, if we absolutely can't afford to do anything else, then let's just record everything to tape to the best of our ability. And if, heaven forbid, there's a true disaster, and not a disappointment, but a disaster, and we need to recover, well then, you know, it won't be... The people who we serve won't necessarily be satisfied, but by the time we get everything to them again, at least they won't be like, okay, well, at least you didn't lose any of my stuff. It took forever to get it back, and that was disappointing because I'm really used to instant gratification, quite frankly, with IT, right? But you got it back, and you didn't lose it, and you didn't lose my pictures, and you didn't lose my important information, and you didn't lose our accounts receivable, and that sort of thing, right? So anyway, you know, and this was like almost 10 years ago, where I was like, okay, this disaster recovery thing, like this is antiquated. Like this, you know, it's disaster avoidance. And that means that, again, you know, let's say you're Google and you have all of your Gmail in one data center. Well, you have 100% of the exact same data in data center number 2. And if data center 1 catches fire, you just simply flip over the connectivity to data center 1, and blam. Unnoticed by the user, and I also refer to that as 100% perceived uptime. Because again, it's the user experience that we're looking to satisfy, right? And some people could argue that, well, the user experience is, you know, it's unrealistic expectation. There's no way we can provide 100% uptime. And you absolutely can. It's not free. In other words, if you have one data center and you're like, okay, well, we need to be able to provide all of this information 100% of the time, and we'll do that by having 2 data centers. Well, okay, that invoice just doubled, right? And that's a real number. And to do that, what do? Do you all of a sudden increase your cost to your users by 2? Do you say, okay, students, that you're paying $100,000 a year for a bachelor's degree, for example, we're now going to charge you $200,000 a year or whatever, or for a degree. But we promise that you'll never lose your data, blah, 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 blah. And we're basing that on the fact that, oh my God, what if there's a global pandemic? A lot of the parents would be like, okay, so we can appreciate your due diligence and your obsession with uptime, Mike, but it doesn't make the product that you provide us all of a sudden twice as valuable, simply because you can essentially guarantee that you won't lose my data. Figure out a better way to do it. And there's risk reward in the whole thing, right? Just like everything. Just like every sort of offering. You know, when I rent a hotel room, I don't rent 2 just in case the water might go out in the main one, or just in case the electricity doesn't work in that one, or the air conditioning, okay, right? So, I mean, that would be sort of ridiculous, quite frankly. You only rent 1 hotel room. Okay, so why am I talking about all of this? Well, because there is a comfort level that I experienced in my life, which was also, you know, my job, my work, that involved saying, now we all know the phrase, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? And again, that is a common sort of label, a common sort of question you ask people when you're in a team and you're saying, okay, how do we come up with a DA plan? How do we come up with a disaster avoidance plan? Okay, well, we don't have 100% of the data backed up, but what we do is we have a secondary site, and the last, say, 10 days of data, we have that, and everything prior to 10 days ago, we actually have that on tape, and we'll put that somewhere, and it'll be really inexpensive, but heaven forbid, the main thing that does hold 100% of all the data, let's say that catches fire, we flop over to the backup, and that has the ability to basically operate the organization with the data that existed for the last 10 days, or the last 30 days if you do like monthly or quarterly or whatever. The point is you set sort of a point in time and you say to yourself, okay, well, if we can do that, then most people will be, like if I said to most of you guys, what email is important to you? I would submit most of you would probably respond just off the top, oh, all of it, Mike. But in reality, it's really the only email that's really sort of important to you is probably about the last week, meaning to have it available instantaneously. Whatever you can scroll through on your phone, or whatever sort of shows up on your monitor if you're using Gmail, or whatever shows up on, like, you know, the far left-hand column of Outlook in your inbox. You know, and then when you search for something that's like, oh, what was I doing a year ago? Okay, well, yeah, but I mean, again, risk reward, disaster avoidance, and how do we do that? So again, I bring all this up because we all know the phrase, what's the worst thing that can happen? And I would invite you to adopt the phrase, what's the best thing that can happen? Because in my experience, certainly lately being over here, and by that I mean like the last 6 months, I've been here 7 months. In the first month I got here, there was still like, no one even knew how to spell COVID, okay? The first month I was here. And basically the first 2 months I was here, it was irrelevant. If I had used the word Corona to anybody, then, you know, yeah, they probably, oh, beer, you know, right? Okay, so it wasn't on our minds. And best thing that could happen is something that I've really tried to focus on because of a couple of reasons. I think the first is that, in my experience, if I focus on the negative, it seems like things get more negative. Let me just say that. If I focus on all the bad that's going to happen, if I focus on what if it might rain right now, even if it doesn't rain right now, I don't believe I'm going to enjoy right now, while it's not raining, for example, as much as I really want to. In other words, you know, again, yes, I'm here, okay, in something that a lot of people would label as pretty gorgeous, okay, right? But again, that's why I'm here, right? Because I like to go places where I can do things that I enjoy. One of the things is go for long walks on the beach. and I like pina coladas, getting caught in the rain, ha ha ha. And listening to this. I mean, I listen to that for hours, and do. And there are certain things in my life that I can do that for. I can just absolutely be content doing that, and only that. And my mind wanders, for sure, and maybe yours does too. But I can pretty much enjoy what's going on when there's a whole lot of this. And I understand how you might respond with, Mike, it's real easy to be in a good mood. Okay? When you're surrounded, yeah, okay, right. But again, this is sort of like one of the rewards, right, of really focusing on adding value, doing the best that I can, being a worker among workers, doing the best job that I could, trying to save money for, you know, the future. In other words, you know, I'm making money now, and yes, I'm spending it on groceries right now, so I get that. But then there's like, I'm making money right now so I can have money at the end of the month so I can like make a car payment, for example. Well, I'm making money right now, so I'm saving money right now so at the end of the year I can make my annual insurance premium. Or I'm making money right now and I'm saving money right now so that in 2019 I can move to Thailand. And everyone's got, you know, various goals and mountaintops and peaks and, you know, vision and mission and goals, and everyone's got a different sort of view of what the future, what they want it to look like. And I think that along the way, while I was focusing on what's the best thing that can happen, I am gonna throw out there that it may have happened earlier than I thought it might, because I was focused on solution along the way. I wasn't focused on the negative. When someone brought something up, my default setting wasn't, oh yeah, but you know, what if this happens? Oh sure, that's a really nice car. But what happens when the warranty runs out in 36 months? Well, then I'll deal with it when the warranty, you know, kind of thing. But I really, and I don't say this because I want to provide a scenario that maybe you have in your life and a behavior that, to say, oh boy, are you doing it wrong? That's not what I mean when I say, hey, I hope you're living the dream, and if you're not living the dream, you're doing it wrong. That's not what I mean. What I'm getting at is, I used to do that too, and I used to do it a lot. Oh my God, what if this happens? What are we gonna do? And at the time, I really couldn't pinpoint why I was so disappointed with my life. I had things and I had stuff, and I was able to be like, no, this is good. And I could sit back and be like, yeah, you know what? I really am enjoying this cup of coffee. Dave, I'm glad we met, and we met up and like, you know, tried to like reconnect. Or, yeah, I'm really glad that I, went to the beach for this sunset, even though, I don't particularly like the cold weather or whatever. If I could focus on the negative, whatever it is. Let's say it's in Boston and it's in November and it's like, yeah, the beach is gorgeous, but it's 20 degrees. Okay, so there was this sort of conscious decision I made to focus on the positive. And the other reason I bring this up is I've always sort of wondered, like, is it a requirement for people to have near-death experiences to appreciate life? Do people have to go broke to appreciate having money? Do you need to see some poor person through no fault of their own that doesn't have the use of their legs, that is confined to a wheelchair? Do you need to be able to see that to be able to be grateful for your legs? Does negativity need to show up for you to be able to switch into positivity? And I think there was a time in my life where it did. Like, I needed to sort of, there's a phrase that I hear and use, which is I needed to hit bottom, so I could basically stop digging my hole, right? I needed to hit bottom so that then it was like, okay, the only way is up from here. And a lot of times that bottom can be very painful, and it was for me in a couple of scenarios, but there were also other bottoms that I hit where it was like, okay, well, this isn't painful, but it's painful enough, or it's glaringly obvious enough that I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm not living the dream in this scenario, and I'm doing it wrong. What am I doing wrong? Am I not asking for help? Am I focused on the negative? Am I surrounding myself with people that aren't solution providers? Am I doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? Many people seem to want to credit Albert Einstein for making that statement, and it being the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I saw a post recently from an acquaintance, effectively, not really a friend, but someone that I know through friends, and I believe she was from San Diego. And she posted she was frustrated, and so she was getting it out, and I get that. She was posting the fact that she was disappointed with 7-Eleven delivery. Actually, maybe this was in Bangkok. Anyway, regardless, yeah, I think it was a scenario in Bangkok. And she would call 7-Eleven, and if you don't know here, like, actually 7-Eleven has an app you can use, and it's integrated with other apps for payment and that sort of thing. But the point is that you can basically, make a request to 7-Eleven, and they will deliver it, okay? And in the post, she was saying, that's it. This is the last time I'm using 7-Eleven delivery. I've now tried it. I want to say at least she either said, I've tried it 7 or 8 times, or I've tried it 7 times, or I've tried whatever. I know there was a 7 in there, so it was either like, this is the 7th, I tried it 7 times, and every time they would do this, they would replace the items that I ordered that they didn't have in stock with something without asking for my permission. They would, other people would sort of comment, her friends of hers that were probably, trying to console, I'm really sorry that that's happening. Yeah, I haven't used, 7-Eleven. Just sort of standard stuff that we would do. Inner communication with our, close friends, loved ones, that sort of thing. Buddies, acquaintances. And I thought to myself, I'm like, wow, I'm really bummed that you had to try that 7 times. And I can't help but wonder, at the 4th time, at the 5th time, at the 6th time, what prompted you to be like, okay, well, I'm just going to open up this 7-Eleven app, because up until now, I've had absolutely 0 success, but this time it's going to work. And you did that on the 4th time. And then you're like, well, I really want something. I really want this smoothie, or this bar of soap, or this something that I need at 7-Eleven. And your thought was, I'm going to open up the 7-Eleven app on my phone. I assume, knowing and being aware, maybe you have a bad memory, but that the previous 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, it was not successful and you were frustrated then. But you're going to try it one more time. You're going to try it one more time. And trust me, I've done the whole I'm going to try it one more time thing. I've definitely done the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Dumbfounded at why the 9th time that I did something, I can't believe this failed again. And so in that sense, perhaps many people need to hit that degree of bottom to realize, okay, that's it. Otherwise, there probably wouldn't be the phrase, this is the last straw. And I have been reflecting a lot lately on what areas of my life I still engage in that kind of negative behavior, such that it's holding me back. I'm doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I'm unable to enjoy myself in the moment. And the other thing, too, is that how is this energy that I'm experiencing right now, how is this negativity, how is this lame sauce that I'm swimming in, how am I potentially trying to convince others that, you know, oh, woe is me and this is bad stuff, and therefore you should either feel sorry for me, or hey, it would be really nice as a friend if you would have some empathy for me, or how am I essentially making that person have a worse experience in the moment? Because somehow if I do that, if I convince somebody else that like the hotel we're in is disgusting, or that this food is gross, even though, you know, this restaurant is totally incompetent, even though like your plate of food is great, but my food is lousy. So therefore somehow if I try and convince you, not necessarily that your food is lousy, but because my food was lousy, you should be having a bad experience right now. Because I'm having a bad experience right now. You guys may have never done that. I'm pretty confident that I've done that. And I believe it was motivated by my desire to somehow, maybe I could make myself feel better by having that other person feel worse. I don't know if that was the logic I was using at the time, but I've seen other people do it, and when I see that, I'm like, oh, how have I done that? Where am I doing that now? Do I do that with Gracie? Do I do that with my mom? Do I do that with my best friends? When Rob and I have a discussion, do I, you know, not do that when I'm hanging out with Rike and we're talking about, you know, like all the positive, because Rike is pretty positive. He's a friend of mine. And one of the things that we sort of share is I would submit the desire to focus on the positive and look for solution and try and do the best we can with the awareness we have at the given moment. And that's a label for a lot of my friends, quite frankly. I mean, it's one of the reasons that I think Gracie and I, or I'll just speak for me, it's one of the reasons I love Gracie. You know, there's that phrase, right? Oh, I feel your pain. Gracie feels my pain when I'm in pain. And whenever I get like stressed out or frustrated or something like that, and I share it with her and she responds with, oh, I'm really sorry about that, I'm like, thank you. Whether I say it out loud or I just sort of sigh, pause my head, or rather pause, sigh, you know, bow my head and think to myself, what value am I bringing to the relationship by sharing with that with her right now? Or is it just like, you know what, honey, I'm really bummed out right now. And you know what? The good news is that one of the many reasons this relationship works, and it could be with your significant other or not, but one of the reasons this relationship works really well is that we're not both crazy at the same time. We're not both disappointed at the same time. We're not both hurt at the same time. We're not both focused on the negative at the same time. And so right now, it's, let's see, I believe it is June 29th, 2020. I am here in Koh Samui, Samui Island. Thailand. And as I'm walking around on this beach, I was thinking to myself how grateful I was. I was thinking of the reasons that I'm grateful. And a buddy of mine popped into my head. And so I stopped, I pulled out the camera, I made a quick minute, 10-second, whatever video, you know, and just talking into there, sort of a little bit of stream of consciousness. And I said, dude, I just want to let you know, I'm really grateful that you're in my life. Like, it's really cool that we're friends. And that we can, you know, shuck and jive or whatever, I suppose, if you're from the South. Or we can shoot the breeze if you're... I learned that phrase from my dad. Or we can just, you know, hang out and kibitz or whatever. So there's that part of enjoyment. I'm really grateful that we can do that. And just, hey man, I'm really psyched you're in my life. That was it. And maybe it wasn't it, but that was the gist of it. And then I sent it to him. And I'm not looking for a response. I'm not looking for acknowledgement. I'm not looking for any sort of reward. I'm not looking, but I just was like, you know what, that's the cool thing that I did. And so I wanted to share all of this, but I also wanted to share that final scenario, maybe as a reward for you watching this long. I think this is a reward. I would invite you, I would encourage you to right now think of just one person in your life. It doesn't have to be 10, it doesn't have to be an overwhelming goal, you don't have to get out a piece of paper, unless you want to. But like, what's one person in your life right now that you should, at the end of this video, or maybe stop right now. At the end of this video, you should write a note, send them a text, SMS, send them a message on WhatsApp, send them a picture of where you are, send them a picture of you smiling. You know, think about something that's like an inside joke between you two. And just send them a message, and not necessarily use my words, but effectively convey to them that you're really happy that they're in your life. And that may manifest itself as you sending, like, if they're really introverted and you guys like have sort of like inside jokes and stuff, maybe all you do is you SMS them, smiley face, send, bam, that's it. They see it, and you guys know each other well enough that they will interpret that somehow as, oh, that's cool, they've thought about me and this is really neat. And you know, they may not consciously have this thought, but effectively it will be like, wow, I'm really glad that that person's in my life too. So I would really invite you to do that. And with that, I just thought I'm going to upload this, and this is going to be a premiere, and hopefully we're going to be able to chat through this entire video. Because I really like doing that with you guys, and sometimes I like doing it on a live stream, sometimes I like doing it this way with a premiere. But anyway, I just hope this maybe gave you some stuff to think about, and I hope that wherever you're watching this, you're truly safe and happy. I hope that you can pause, and I hope that you can be like, oh my God, Mike. There are so many people in my life. If I had, you know, if I didn't have to, like, you know, have this responsibility to like go back to work, or you know, I'm at my lunch hour and I can only do one person. But it's like, man, I could do that with like 2, 3, 4 people. There's like 3 people in my life that it would be really, I am actually going to get enjoyment out of pausing and letting them know that I'm really grateful they're in my life. And maybe you do it selfishly because you're like, you know what, if I do that, I'll feel good. Well, you know, the neat thing too is that in my experience, doing those things, it makes me feel good and it makes them feel good too. And there's no downside, and therefore, it is truly a visible working example of what's the best thing that can happen. The best thing that can happen, one of the best things that can happen right now, is that I get the opportunity to tell someone who's in my life that I love or like or care about or appreciate or something like that. I just want to let them know, hey, you know what? I'm really stoked that we know each other. And with that, it's Mike from LiveMyAssOff.com saying I hope you are living the dream, because if you are not living the dream, then maybe to get a little bit closer to feel like you are living the dream, all you have to do is reach out to somebody else and say, hi, you're important to me. Thanks a lot. Have an amazing day. Ciao.